applications reviewed and have some decisions that we can present to the City Council. I'm going to turn it over to Sharon Lexel at this point.
Thank you, and first of all, thank you all for coming in for this special joint meeting. This has been an interesting cycle, and thank you all for attending tonight. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. The chairs are separated on purpose because of the coronavirus outbreak. We have hand sanitizers strategically placed around the building. We have wipes if you feel you need to wipe things down. If you want, and please don't hug each other or shake hands or any of those things that could spread things tonight. But thank you all for attending. And if anyone is not familiar with this building, the restrooms are all the way down to the end of the hall and to the right. Now to why we're all here tonight. The Community Development Block Grant Program requires that citizens are involved with the planning and implementing and assessment of the CDBG program each year. And HUD does require exchange of ideas from the community before everything goes to the council and then goes to HUD. And part of our citizen participation program is that citizens review the applications before they go to the City Council. Usually it would be just the CDAC doing this review. Unfortunately this year, an interesting turn of events, we have 2 vacancies on the CDAC, which puts us below the 5 members of the CDAC that HUD does require that we have. Our citizen participation plan calls for 5 members and 5 alternates. So we had to get a little creative, and luckily for us and for all of you, the Homeless Commission does have in their work plan that they can assist the CDAC when necessary. It became necessary, so we've kind of enlisted them to help out and give us a 4th, 5th, and 6th, and so on set of eyes. So thank you in advance for your participation tonight. Thank you for bearing with us because they have not been part of the process up to this point until about 2 weeks ago. So thank you all. Let's see. We did have our community needs workshop in September. Several of you were there, and several of you on the Homeless Commission were also there. So thank you for that. That information helped to establish the goals that will be presented in the consolidated plan that will be presented to the public in early April. The mandatory meeting was held in November, and the CDAC actually got the applications to review in January. Tonight we'll be talking about the applications in the public service and the capital projects category. I do want to let everyone know that me as staff did consult with our newest HUD representative. We have a brand new HUD representative, and they advised us to make sure that we used alternates in the review process, so that we had enough citizens in the community that reviewed the applications. So it was a cross-section of the community. The PDF copies of the applications have been posted on the city website. Everyone was able to access them, and hopefully all of you have read some of the applications, not just the review committee. Hopefully everyone in the audience has as well. And HUD has announced that the allocations for next year. Seaside will be receiving $339,000 in funding. This is combined with the $104,000 of program income. But now we get into the tricky part. 15% of the available funds can be used for public services funding, 20% for program administration, and the remainder for projects and other activities. So what happens tonight, we'll come up with recommendations for the council. Staff will be presenting that on the April 2nd City Council meeting, and the City Council will decide whether or not to accept the recommendations or to revise them. That's certainly up to the City Council. And we're going to, whatever they decide on April 2nd, it will be a really quick turnaround because the consolidated plan will go out for public review on April 6th. So this is all going to happen very, very quickly because since they've announced the allocations, we must meet the May 15th deadline to submit our consolidated plan to HUD. And this is the 5-year plan, not the 1-year plan. The 1-year plan is part of the 5-year plan. But the CDAC will hear more about that at their next meeting. So please keep in mind during tonight's review process. First of all, thank you all for your participation, applicants, and everyone who's reviewing. I want to make sure I don't skip anything here. That's what I'm reading. If for some reason any of the reviewers feel they need to recuse themselves for deliberation, if there's a conflict of interest, feel free to do so. I will not tell you you should recuse yourself. I do not know what you do in your personal lives. Reviewers should recuse themselves if they reside within 500-foot radius of a capital improvement project that could impact their property value. I believe there is one that may fall into that category, and you know where you live, I do not. This meeting is subject to the Brown Act. Please make your deliberations in open session. All the Seaside boards and commissions meetings are expected to be recorded and live streamed on YouTube. We are doing that right now. All proposals are welcomed. We thank the groups for their interest in improving the quality of life in Seaside, and thank you all for making a difference.
Thank you, Sharon. How's everybody feeling tonight? This is never an easy process. There is never enough money to go around. There are always so many deserving organizations. And the task put before the committee was to rate the applications on the basis of certain criteria: community needs and priorities, benefits to the target population. And we do have target populations. That was one of the purposes of the September annual workshop, is for the community to speak in terms of what they feel are the most pressing needs of this community. We therefore assess the applications against those needs. That's the benefit to target population section. Another section is organizational administrative capacity. This is a federal program. There is a great deal of red tape. It is incumbent on our reviewers to be sure that the applicants will actually be able to fulfill the administrative requirements of the grants, which is no easy task from what I understand. And finally, financial analysis, because this pie is never going to stretch as far as anyone would like. We also want to see that the applicants are financially healthy. Do they have other needs? Do they have other resources they can tap? Since we go into this assessment on a 2-year cycle, at the time we are reviewing the applications, we never know how much money is available. And at this point, we have a figure. Historically, that figure has changed. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. So we don't, at this point in time, have the ability to assign a firm dollar amount to any applicant anyway. We are making recommendations. The City Council has the final say. So that is the basic process that we have undergone. In the past, CDAC members have given their individual scoring on the sheet. They've turned those into the staff, and the staff has assembled those and given a scoring document that everyone can review. It's my understanding that due to the special circumstances, that didn't happen this time. So we are actually going to, in real time, discuss the applications and, with any luck at all, reach a consensus on their merits. We will start with the service applications.
What's the next agenda item?
And I jumped right into it.
You did.
Is there something
Would you like me to do the staff report?
Okay, fine.
No, you were doing great. Actually, Sue really did sum it up pretty well. And I'm not trying to. No, she did a great job. She actually explained it very, very well. We do have an exact number, though, that we can work with, because HUD has announced the allocation. So what we need to do is to fit everything into $66,610.05 for the public service. This is the public service items now. I did attach into the staff report a scenario as to how it would work out if we did it the same way we did it last year.
2 years ago.
Well, as it's currently in existence, this is the formula we're using right now. It really reduces a lot. So just keep that in mind. If you do go with the same system we did last time, which was put them all together, add them all up, see what percentage of the total amount, what percentage of the total request it was, and then fit it into how much money we have available with that same percentage, and not have anybody go below $5,000, it makes an adjustment, and what comes out to is, it's such fine print, I can't barely see it. The highest amount could be $8,034.01. The lowest amount would be $5,461. No, the lowest amount is $5,000 for Girls Inc. If we use the current formula. That's just a guideline. That's not a staff recommendation. Much as I like to use this word include, that is cutting it pretty close.
And this is what you're looking at, right?
That is the chart.
Okay.
That if we use the current one that we're currently using, because there's more applications.
And a little background on that is that the last time that we did the application cycle 2 years ago, we didn't want to disappoint anyone. To get to the point of being deliberated on, the application has been determined to be acceptable and valid. And from that standpoint, we didn't like to turn anyone away. So we made the slices a little thinner and made sure that everyone got a taste. That was then, this is now, this is a completely different composition. So that remains an option. It is not a prescription. So that said, the applicants for the public services funding to review for the audience, the organization MPUSD Outdoor Classroom Operation, Gathering for Women, CASA of Monterey County, Action Council, also known as Palenque Arts, Village Project, Legal Services for Seniors, Greater Victory Temple, Girls Inc. of Central Coast, ECHO, Meals on Wheels, and the Community Partnership for Youth, or CPY. To get the ball rolling, and this will not make me popular, in times of reduced circumstances and resources that are constrained, in my judgment, that is not the time to take on new obligations. So I am offering up to the committee the concept that we should stand by those organizations who have been standing by Seaside for years. And that is the recipients of longest standing, which in this case happens to be the Village Project, has requested $14,500. Legal Services for Seniors, which has requested $15,000. Girls Inc. of the Central Coast, which has requested $8,000, Go Girls Inc. ECHO, $9,470. Meals on Wheels, which has requested $10,000. And the Community Partnership for Youth, which is $15,000. For those of you who are new to this process, some time ago, the CDAC decided that it was not fair to recipients to come in expecting that they could request $100,000 and that request could ever possibly be honored. So we set an upper limit of $15,000. At the other end of the scale, because of the administrative costs required simply to meet the requirements of retaining this grant, we set a threshold of $5,000. We will not give anyone less than that. That is a prescription of the committee. So therefore, if you follow my logic, what I'm proposing is that we fund the organizations that I have mentioned fully at 100%, with the exception of ECHO, because the money does not stretch that far. We would fund fully Village Project, Legal Services for Seniors, Girls Inc., Meals on Wheels, and CPY fully, and then that leaves about a 50% amount for ECHO housing services. That's one possible way that we could proceed. I will now open the floor to the committee, and let's hear what you all are thinking.
Madam Chair? If I might.
Oh, you might.
So the under five, or nobody is offered anything under $5,000. That is set by the committee, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm also going to take an unpopular approach, perhaps, and recommend that we disregard the under $5,000, because in this example of the breakdown, I believe it's Girls Inc. actually ends up with more than what they requested. Now that's just that example. I think that we've targeted, if I am understanding correctly, the CDAC. We're targeting certain populations from that meeting, and a lot of those are services that are providing for the most vulnerable populations in our community. So those are homeless, unsheltered, our youth, our elders, and I think all of these organizations are exactly who we want to be spending and giving money to. I know that the public service money and the capital projects are two separate banks, but I would say if we could maybe towards the end of this, if that is agreeable to everybody, of course, hold the final recommendation for after we hear about the capital improvement projects, because I'm considering that we do not fund NPUSD, but we fund everybody else, and then break down a percentage so that everybody is funded with the same cost minus, so that everybody would get the maximum amount across the board, with like $800 off the top each, or whatever it would be. Does that make sense? I'm not explaining that.
Can I clarify for a second? I'm sorry to interrupt, but the spreadsheet that is in your packet,
Yes.
I do not have MPUSD funded the first year because of how it's written. They have to build it before they can staff it, so the first year they probably wouldn't have that cost.
Yes.
And it would
Yes.
kick in the second year. So that's why the chart is the way it is, so they're funded the second year.
But just a point of clarification, I'm not totally sure I understood you, but we cannot apply capital funding to service projects.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, I
So
wasn't sure.
we have several organizations that have applied for both capital improvement and public service, and perhaps if they find that they have some other funding mechanism, not for the same thing, but that there's a fairness, there's an equity, possibly for that. That's just a thought.
So are you saying if just making some of the village project has a capital money that they're gonna get, maybe not give them as much as the service money because they're getting capital money? Is that why you want to go extend it? That's how I'm interpreting what you said. Okay, so kind of get the whole picture before we make a decision. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes. I agree with Chair Hare regarding MPUSD.
Unfortunately, I'm not stating that with, quite honestly, with a clarity of logic behind that. So I will say that, and it's not simply to agree with you. This was my initial feeling at the outset regarding MPUSD. So I will state that that's my feeling on it, but I'll also be honest that it's not with some great clarity of thought. It's just what my initial response reviewing all of these now and prior to this was. I'm also just want to say it's wonderful seeing all of the requested organizations on here, and I feel like all of these, or most all of these, do meet, looking at the criteria. The underserved, gathering for women, homelessness, spirituality, the arts, which are so important. All of these things right now, I feel like are so important in our community. Meals on Wheels. So yes, in terms of MPUSD, I agree with you. I would also like to see an equity between the distribution of funds, however that works out. So in terms of your yellow column, I'm very in favor of that.
Even if that were to mean that the organizations would have difficulty fulfilling the tasks or services that they intended to provide with the application?
Are you saying even if going with the yellow column will make it so that other organizations will not?
No, I'm saying that if, for example, the village project indeed does need $14,500
I hear you.
to provide the service, would they be completely unable to provide a meaningful service with half that amount of money? They did address this question in the applications, and you know there were various answers, but the idea that we give nobody enough money just frankly does not appeal to me.
I hear that. Yeah.
Somebody else, please. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have to say this, but there's so many needy home things here for the homeless community. And I hate to see any of those cut down when, I don't know, it's any of the youth projects that we need to support our youth, but we also have to support our elder population, seniors, okay? There's a lot of homeless out there. I see that, well, I'll use as an example, Gathering Place for Women asked for 10,000, and then it's cut down to 5,461. Is that correct?
If we went with the calculation, this is a sample calculation that was prepared to show you one possible way of dividing the pie.
Well, I'm sorry. I have a spot for Gathering Place for Women because I've been there so many times to see those women that are there and that are trying to get a step up, and Community Human Services. And I'm seeing that they've got a lot of plans in the future to help our homeless community. And CPY, I know CPY has a lot of homeless children in her group. And so does Village Project, doesn't it? And there's a lot of homeless people out there. But I don't want to see them, like they asked for 10,000, even Casa, you know, and then we're cutting them down to 5,000, and
that is one possible scenario. That's not a recommendation, it's an option.
Okay.
And I would just like to say that, tonight you're wearing your community development advisory hats, you're not the homeless commission.
No, I'm
So
not talking
please
about
keep
just the
that in
homeless
mind.
commission. I'm talking about, I said CPY, I said Community Human Services, I know all the good things that they do. A lot of these legal services for seniors. I mean, I've known all of these things and they're all very important. CASA is very important too. And, I know about ECHO. I know ECHO. How long has ECHO been around?
They were a new applicant last time, so this is the, they completed one cycle.
But you don't know how many years they've been in existence.
Oh, they are a well-established organization. Yeah, this is not just local, they have many branches throughout
You'd have to
California
give me
at least.
You'd have to give me a time frame of a year. Like I know, CPY's been around for, over 25 years?
Indeed they have, yes.
And so, and ECHO, I know, I remember when ECHO started, and that wasn't that long ago, in that time frame.
Yeah, as I said, this last funding cycle was the first time that they were a subrecipient of us. So I agree with you 100%. Everybody here
Needs the money.
is worthy.
I know.
That is not under debate, at least not with me. Yes.
I had a quick question. In your rationale of your suggestion for an alternate funding, you mentioned historic funding of the CDBG money, and you included ECHO in that list. Is that correct?
I included ECHO as a current subrecipient, yes.
Correct.
And I recommended that we consider after fully funding the subrecipients of longest standing, the most established, that ECHO as a current subrecipient get the remainder of the funds, which would bring them to about half of what they have requested.
Like I said, I just wanted to clarify for the record that both mission, Victory Temple and Honey Carrots both were subrecipients as well.
That is correct. There are other current subrecipients on this list. What I presented as a potentially unpopular option is a way to fully fund organizations who have stood by Seaside a great many years as one possible way of dividing a pie that just is not going to go far enough. This is painful. Please be aware that we take this not lightly.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
So these numbers, it's broken down into 20 to 21, and then 21 to 22.
That's a great question. We are on a 2-year cycle, funding cycle.
Right.
So the applications cover this year and next year.
So when a Gathering for Women is requesting $10,000, that would be split up over 2
That would be
years.
per year.
Oh, per year.
So the requested amount is
Yes, because
per
we'll
year.
get more money next year. We only have to stretch this pie through 2002, help me, 2020 to 2021. So people are applying for 2 years. We are deciding funding for 1 year. When the funding is, this is a great question, Dan. When the funding is announced next year, if it is a whole lot more money, we will have money to distribute. And one of the things we can determine tonight is how we would like to see additional funding distributed should it become available. We have done that in the past. Yes?
In the second year, can we distribute money to people we didn't give money to in the first year, or is it
Yes.
this 2 years is, okay.
We can put in a contingency approval
Should funding become available above a certain amount, which we are allocating thusly, our next preference would be that we fund this application, this application, this application.
Okay, and I Googled ECHO, and it says that the Eden Council for Hope and Opportunity was founded in 1964.
There you
It's
go.
1 year younger than me.
Yes. They are new to Seaside, but they are not a new organization. Yes. Someone else?
Can I ask a silly question? Okay, this pot of money came in to the city. When do you get next year's money?
I will turn that over to Sharon.
Okay, they announced they announced for this cycle, which will be available for people to start spending July 1st. They announced this in February. Last year they didn't announce it until May. I mean, they announced it really early this year. We have to say how we're going to spend it. It has to go to council. We have to set the plan. It goes to HUD. They review it, make sure it's all good. They get back to us. There's paperwork that goes back and forth. The actual contract that we get with HUD probably doesn't get signed until August. But since they've already committed to us that we're going to get this grant, the subrecipients can start spending the money at the beginning of the fiscal year, which is July 1st. But we're doing 2 years out. The next cycle, the next cycle of awards will be next year. We're not asking the subrecipients to do applications every year. That's a lot of paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're asking them to do in a 2-year cycle, so they don't have to do this all again next year. I hope that made some sense, but
Well, I followed it, yeah.
it's a past, present, future thing that we have going on.
We will get money next year.
For 21-22, it's up to the federal government. Yes. This is a federal grant.
Well, 'cause I read something.
Yeah.
And you know what, right
it's
now?
An annual district.
It is an annual grant, but if the president's budget is approved the way he presented it, we would not get money next year, because every year he says no. But it's a federal budget, so we'll see what happens.
So we plan for all contingencies.
We plan for a lot of things.
Yes.
Maybe it would benefit me if you explain this spreadsheet. So,
I'll explain the spreadsheet. You don't have to.
so let me give my first shot at it. The first column on the left is the names of the organizations who have applied.
Yep.
Then the second column is the amount they requested in the grant. The next column is a mystery to me.
Oh, that's the percent of the total money requested.
So their $10,000 is 8%.
Of the $121,970 that was requested.
Oh, okay.
Added everybody together, what they asked for, put it all together, and that was the percentage of the total amount of requests.
So I'm assuming if we totaled that column, it would be over 100%. I'm not that good at math, but I'm assuming those
Well, I
percentages
put it
are
on,
less.
and Excel did it, so I'm assuming it should come up to 100.
Oh, okay, okay. So,
I did not just key in those numbers.
oh, because I thought, okay, so the 121,000 is the total number of requests. Oh, it helps if you read the whole thing. What we have is 66,000 to split.
Exactly, that's how much money we actually have.
Okay, so we have, and then the second number, the 63,000, is what we're expecting.
Expecting in the second
Next
year,
year.
and that's a guess.
Total guess.
Total guess.
Okay, so, percent of actual using, that's the 1, 2, 3, the fourth column over. What, I don't understand that.
If you did, okay, there's just the Gathering for Women, 8.2% of $10,000.
Oh, okay. All right. So if you, all right. So we're saying of the 121,000, this is the percent.
This is the percent
of that.
of
And if we took that percent and applied it to the 66,000, how much would
right.
we
If you
get?
add that column all together, it comes up to 66,000.
Okay.
So
thank you.
that's how I can make all the money fit.
Okay.
That does not mean you have to use that, but that's just a guideline.
Right. So if we said whatever their percentage was of this 121,000 total requested and said that's just how we're gonna split it across, push a button, a monkey could have done it. That's what the numbers add up to. The yellow column is,
when you actually put those numbers into the what the city council said they wanted to see last time was they didn't want anybody to go below $5,000 and to take off the top of the highest ones to bring it down so that the bottom one came up. It's a crazy little formula, but that's how that yellow column
well, that's okay.
became.
The yellow column is fairly consistent with the previous column.
Yeah, there's a little bit of adjustment.
$100 here or there. You gotta bring somebody's 4,300 up to 5,000.
Where it gets really challenging is that second year when you have less money and more subrecipients.
Right.
That's where things really start getting a little.
But so again, the purpose of the yellow column is Sharon's crunched the numbers in case we were wondering, what would it look like if we funded everyone based on the percentage that has been used previously and has been approved by the city council.
Right.
So we don't have to try to figure that out longhand or on our phones now. Right. She has done that bit of math.
And we're just focused on the yellow, what we're doing this year, not what we're doing next year.
We are focused on what we're doing this year, yes.
Which is the yellow column, not the green column.
No, the point I'm trying to make is the yellow column is an example.
Right, but we're not worried about.
That we don't necessarily focus on that, focus on what has been requested.
Right, but we're not doing next year, we don't have to worry about the green column.
We are working with the dollar amount of $66,610.05.
Okay, so we're not.
For 1 year.
Okay, so we're not looking at what we're gonna do next year, just to try to keep it simple, what's it this year? And we've got an example of what we could do, but we could do something different.
Right, if we decided to just punt and say, spread it out, that would be, that is the amount reflected in the yellow column.
So can I ask one more question?
Of course.
So you named the Village Project, Legal Services for Seniors, Girls Inc., ECHO, Meals on Wheels, and Community Partnership for Youth. Those are the ones you said have had long-term relationships with Seaside. Are you saying that the other MPSU, Gathering Women, CASA, and Action Council, that one of the options would be not to fund them so we can give the other ones more money because we're spreading it across less organizations?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh wait, if you want to throw it up into the public, then you do the public part.
Right, okay.
Yeah. We will make this meeting move smoothly, thank you.
Our meetings are very informal. Please hold your questions.
I just wanted to add that the idea of creating a contingency plan helps in terms of my own personal thinking. Again, it is hard to look at this and say, oh, we're not going to fund somebody. Of course, I'm looking at it going, let's help everybody. And I know that sometimes when we're helping everybody, then some people, like you're saying, aren't actually getting help.
You help nobody.
Because, exactly, and that's difficult. And obviously that's looking at it from different angles there. So having some kind of contingency to say, hey, if we don't help you right now, our plan, best case scenario, depending on federal funding, is that we will help you. But of course, I know that's an if there. And especially right now, it's kind of a big if. But just adding that piece of the contingency idea is helpful in my own thinking, but I still wouldn't, for my own personal knowledge of a number of these organizations, and some of them I don't have the same knowledge of. So with that in mind, I wouldn't personally be recommending the exact same ones as you, but I don't know how that works at the end of the day. We're writing down our recommendations or what we're doing, but the contingency helps in my thinking for sure. So thank you. Yes.
So let's hear from the CDAC. David, what are you thinking?
Sure. So obviously, I think that the choice that we've been banning around so far is leave some people happy and others fuming versus leave some people, leaving everybody less happy. I'm less, of those two different scenarios, I'm a little bit more comfortable with everybody leaving with something, just because, I don't know, I think that's there should be, I think, some product from the effort that goes into put these applications in. I don't know that seniority is exactly the criterion I would use to exclude others. So I am more go towards the equitable distribution in the yellow column. But also keeping in mind that there's a couple people on here, at least NCUSD and New on Wheels, I've also highlighted in the capital projects. So I think the fact that they might be getting money depending on their operations makes that a little bit more palatable.
Although you realize the money would go to entirely different things.
Correct.
And,
But it goes the same.
the funding is not transferable.
Right. That, no, understood. But the same organization would be benefiting financially in some way.
What? Can you say that again?
I said, I'm thinking, am I going to be in this commission next year? my feeling is,
Should we vote on that now?
my feeling is, I think that everybody should get something, and if there's a organization that feels that that's not going to help them, they can surrender it and give it to somebody else. Well, then it would be, you understand what I'm saying? Then they don't know that we don't have the money that we have. You know, they ask for a certain amount, and we can't give them that amount. But I think everybody should get something, and not just give it to them. Because it would be hard for me to talk. I'm sorry to get nothing.
Yes.
I agree.
I think so.
Well, I'm suspecting that if we go with this formula, the percentage that those grants requested across the 121,000 to come up with these percents, you know, I kind of feel sorry for the Girls Inc. and Echo. They should have asked for the full 15,000. Like, everybody should be asking for 15,000 if that's how we end up divvying up the money, because they kind of missed out because they didn't ask for more. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. I don't know. I don't know if that was my comment, that maybe everybody should ask for 15,000. I agree with you. It's hard to choose. Sophie's choice.
We haven't heard from you yet.
I actually have experience with Girls Inc. I was in it for 4 years, middle school through freshman year, and I think keeping its funding on it right now is a good idea. Like, I don't think they really need that much. I don't think they need the full 15,000, in my opinion.
Well, they didn't ask for 15,
Yeah.
they asked for 8.
I do not think
Yeah.
I don't think they need that much, but I kind of agree with how you think you should fully fund the CSEC long organizations, because they've been helping us for so long.
Your comment went by pretty quickly. Can you repeat what you said? You kind of lost me with that. I'll be on the commission next year.
Okay. I think that everybody should get something. And if those people who got some feel that it's not going to help them, then they can offer it to somebody who didn't get enough or nothing. Does that make sense?
You need somebody to say that.
Someone to say, you know what, we can make it on 8,000. I don't need 10. Take that 10 or take that 2 and give it to that other person who is not. I mean, you know, we got to work together as a community, and for us to make the decision, I don't want to disappoint anybody, but what else can I do to make it fair? So I'm thinking that people who are out there in the organization know, because maybe they added a little too much money. You know, maybe 25. I don't know. I'm just saying, because I know when I work corporate, whenever I ask for a corporate, I ask for a little bit higher in case I didn't get it. At least I got something. And I think I would ask the people who submitted.
Exactly.
Look yourself in the mirror and tell me, do you really need this much? And if not, could you help another organization? That's just my thought. That's, if I was in the request again, that's what I would do, because I'm happy that I got something, but if I know that it's more than what I needed, I would feel guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not the HUD guy. I don't make the rules, but maybe I can find ways to get in around them so that everybody's happy. That makes sense.
Just adding on to what you're saying, I wish that we could go to each one of these organizations and say, hey, would you rather, if you were really honest and without judgment, but you know, just be able to say, if we give you this, these people won't get this, would you rather that everybody got some? And I know that's kind of maybe not a typical way of thinking about things, but for me, I know for myself, if I was on this list, I would rather take less than other people were included. That's just me personally, and I have no idea how anybody in these groups feels, but I know if my group was on this list, I'd rather get less than somebody else get nothing. So perhaps some of the other groups feel that way, who knows? Just putting that out there, and maybe they don't.
You are aware that they're here.
I am aware they're here. I know, but I know they're here, and I don't know if we can ask them. I mean, if they get to offer it, that's up to them. But I don't think it's my place to ask. That's all. So, and like I said, I'm not saying anything at all about any judgment on that. I'm asking that in my own head. Seriously, I don't mean any judgment on it. I'm just telling my own thinking. And that's where I'm coming from when I'm saying, gosh, I love that we could help everybody. That's explaining my thinking on why I wish we could just help everybody.
Well, I think we've established there's a need.
Yeah.
And gamesmanship or not, I don't feel that anyone has inflated their requests. People did a pretty good job in the applications of saying what they would do with less. So that's not really a question either. As it happens, in the last funding cycle, when it was obvious that there were many more potential applicants than there was funding available, we actually did have an organization drop out. But it's far too late for that to happen now.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just sharing my own thinking. Not at all proposing that. I'm saying where I'm coming from.
So, at this point, we can continue the deliberation until everyone has spoken everything that they need to say.
Yeah, then make sure we open it up for public comment.
Then we can open it up to public comment. Be careful what you wish for. Wait a minute.
Before you open it up to public comment, excuse me, this is a point of order. Are we limiting the time on public comment to keep the meeting going, or are we going to let people talk?
I would like to hear what people have to
That's
say.
fine. It's up to you guys. I just want to make sure if we're running the clock, I have to run the clock.
Before
That's
I
all.
get to you, there was just one more question up there.
And I would just say, I think we have to have some kind of limit.
I'm sorry?
I think we have to have some kind of time limit. Everybody can't talk for 30 minutes. Personally, that would not be beneficial to me.
I doubt anyone would. No, I don't think that's.
Maybe we can set some, I think we should set some kind of limit. So my rough, quickie math was if we took the organizations you listed as long-term supporting seaside groups, I came up with 6 groups. If we fully funded them at their original request, I came up with $72,000. That leaves us $6,000 short. We could subtract 1,000 from what we could fully fund them minus 1,000, and then we're at our 66. That would be one way. Another way I see we could do it is we could give them all 5,000 and then find out what's left over. Sorry to get that math done quick enough. And then figure out what's left over and divvy that pie up. Clearly there's a million ways to do this, and I'm grateful we have your group's leadership on this. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else on the committees? Okay, folks, you've been so good, and you were first. Please identify yourself.
My name is Karen Hammond, and I'm here with Greater Victory Temple in regards to the after-school program. And number one, I'm concerned with the process. It's been intriguing to me. I've done some other nonprofit grant writing, and I've never quite seen this process. I was there at the city council when they talked about point systems and deliberating and what different ways they may measure this. And I expected something similar to what I've seen with the Monterey County Arts Council, which is a points-based system, and they evaluate all the applications, and basically the applicant gets what they get in terms of feedback. So this is a very intriguing process to me. What was also intriguing to me was your thought process. I understand you're trying to simplify it, and I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. But at the same time, I don't understand your thought process on zoning in on those who have shown the most seniority on the seaside. That to me seems to defeat the innovation aspect of community development. Particularly if you're going to make that kind of a line in the sand, I think it should have been very clear to any applicants who potentially wasted their time. And especially for those who have already established themselves in our community. In writing the grant and helping with it at least, it was my understanding that we're now serving the overflow population of those that cannot receive after-school services anywhere in the seaside, that there is a waiting list. Now, I teach in Salinas, where there's more than one program available, and it frustrates me that I can't get some of my kids to go when they need it. But there's a dire need, and if you go back many years on research, I don't have it available. Year after year, they've tried to cut the after-school programs, and year after year, the research has shown that if we put kids in an after-school program, they're going to stay out of crime. They're going to stay off the streets. They're going to make the right choices. The statistics follow them. So kudos to the Village Project, Greater Victory Temple, and anyone else who serves the youth that are so needing that. So I just feel a little confused about the process here, and I think maybe others do too, because, you know, if you came to us and said, you didn't put in the right verbiage, you got less points, this is why you didn't get it, I would understand. But to just draw the line and say the veterans of Seaside who have been here and established themselves would get it, doesn't feel like a fair criteria. So I applaud those of you who want to train everyone. I understand we all need more, we're all in that position, and I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. And so I just ask you to consider the process so that it could be fair to all involved.
Thank you for your comment. Sir.
Hi, good evening everybody. My name is Alan Crawford. I'm the principal of the Monterey Adult School. I also am the principal of Central Coast High School, our alt-ed campus, but I'm here representing the adult school for our application. I agree this is a tough decision for you all, so thank you for bringing the time this evening. So as you may know, we applied for two projects, one a service one and one a capital one. Given what I've heard tonight, I feel very comfortable in saying that for the service one, I'm fine with Monterey Adult School not receiving any money for the service project. So that is a project that we feel is valuable. However, for us, our priority is the capital project, which essentially is to rebuild a portable on our site that's going to provide construction classes for the community. We have partnerships with the local union, workforce development board, and with that, we feel comfortable that we can deliver the program that we told you we can deliver. So, so if you decide to go down the road where you feel like you want to give everybody some, I'm fine with whatever you would have divided with us. Going to that, there's a number of working organizations here, a number of people in this room we know, and they're going to do great work. So for this round of consideration, happy to not receive that, and hopefully you'll consider us for the capital program. On a personal note, my wife is 38 weeks pregnant and is not feeling too well, and I've got 2 kids at home, so I won't be able to answer the questions when you get to the capital realm. But I do hope that you will consider our application for that. We have been around since 1960. Though we're a part of NQSD, the adult school receives separate funding. So K-12 receives the priority. Our funding is gotten from other areas. And so that money would do great things for us in terms of being able to serve the adults in the community who are looking to grow their own careers and really improve their own economic mobility. So with that, again, I really appreciate your time this evening, and thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comment. And incidentally, I'm a graduate of that program. It's,
Yes. Thank you.
the public comment is still open. Yes, sir.
Hi. My name is Juan Sanchez. I'm the Executive Director of Community Arts. We are a community arts organization here in Seaside. We actually are very proud to be partners with several folks in this room, including the MPSC, CDY, and the City of Seaside, of course. We are also sub-recipients of the CDBG, and I'd like to kind of inspire you to make us all feel a little bit more connected to one another. We are in a world of limited funds and limited opportunities and resources. And these contentious meetings where we are like I want to resonate with what you said, not judge on the merits of our proposals, but more like times before. I want to tell you, it really creates fractures in a city that we cannot afford to have. All of us know that with limited funds, there are hard choices, and again, I want to sympathize with you and tell you that I would not want to have your job. But as my dear friend and mentor Mel Mason told me a few months ago, like, man, this was a bear, this application. And had I known also that you were just going to judge whether we're the new kids on the block or we are doing quality stuff, that in our case earned us an award this year, 2019 Nonprofit of the Year in the Arts from Monterey County, I probably would have not stressed out and tortured our dear friend that with all my questions, because this, for small organizations, this is a really overwhelming task. Answering the questions that you had before, would anybody take less? We've already invested a lot, but we are here for the long run. I hope that you can see into the future that not everyone is worthy of support, but we have neglected our youth for so long, and the consequences might be coming up to catch up to us. I hope that you can see into the future and really invest in the youth of our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Public comment is still open? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Birch. I'm the Executive Director of Echo Housing, and we have been around since 1964. So we have a 54-year history of providing tenant landlord and fair housing services. This program is HUD mandated to any CDBG recipient, and it is required by the federal government that our services be provided for whomever receives HUD funding. This seems to be a repeat of the last funding cycle, where we asked for exactly what we needed, not a penny more, and we seem to be punished for asking for what we wanted and not a penny more. In the past 2 years, we had not received what we asked for at the beginning of the last funding cycle. I want to tell you that this year we're going to have many more questions about rent increases and rent caps and just cause eviction, because our governor signed in October 8th of last year some laws that protect tenants. So what we do is we provide tenants and landlords with the information that they need so that they don't run into like business practices, tenants don't get evicted, and if they do get evicted because of an illegal rent increase, they know that they have a defense. I would urge you to please consider, even if you don't fund us fully, to at least fund us at $5,000 mark, because that is the minimum that the city established. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Public comment is still open. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. At this point, I would entertain a motion, unless you all would like to deliberate a little bit longer. If you have rethought on the basis of the public comment, or if you have any other comments you would wish to make, now is the time. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion for way that we can proceed. We will vote on that motion. If that motion does not carry, we will entertain motions until we come up with one that does suit the majority of the commission. Yes?
I would just like to say I did a little bit more math, not that it's my strong suit in any way, shape, or form, just to be clear in case I got the numbers wrong. I really appreciated what the gentleman said from MPUSD. I'm assuming that was the group who said they'd rather have the other funding than this funding. They weren't even in the yellow. I don't think there was any funding for them this year. That leaves us with 10 organizations. Go even, Steven, just one way to do it. 5,000 each is 50K. That leaves us 16,000. That's another 1,600 to spread across the 10 groups. That gives us 6,600 each. Just if you want to go even, Steven, and keep everybody who applied and give everybody money and make it all really super even. I'm just saying that was my math.
Would you care to rephrase that in the form of a motion?
I have a motion to split the money even, Steven, over the 10 organizations, and that would be $6,600 each.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to go even, Steven, and split the money among the 10 organizations at roughly 6,000 each. All those in favor? Show of hands, please. Opposed? Can we try that again?
I think so. We are making the motion. Am I supposed to?
Yes, you vote all again.
It's so hard. These rules. I'm sorry.
It has been moved and seconded that we go even, Steven, among 10 organizations, which amounts to approximately $6,000 each. All those in favor, say aye and raise your hand. Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carried. I'm sorry?
Any public input on that?
Public input has closed.
Okay.
Very good. Moving on to item C on the agenda. Thank you everyone for your input. And thank you members of the public for your input. We will now consider the capital project applications. Sharon, is there anything you'd like to say?
I'll let everybody kind of move around. Some of the people are leaving, so I'll give them a second. These are recommendations to council. You guys, it's okay.
It's not permanent.
This is just what we'll recommend to council. If they want to adjust it, yeah, it's a recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
You're good.
I feel like I'm not going to sleep tonight.
Yeah, we don't have last eyes on this, so.
Okay. Okay. The capital projects. Just so that everyone is aware, we do have several capital projects. The Boys and Girls Club had application for gymnasium improvements and kitchen improvements. those were split into 2 different years. Community Human Services has energy efficiency flooring application. MPUSD, as you heard earlier, had a portable rehabilitation at the adult school. They had also asked for a construction of a garden-based classroom. As he mentioned earlier, that was his second priority. Meals on Wheels of the Monterey Peninsula has asked for flooring for their active living center, which is located in PG. That is the location that Meals on Wheels operates out of. I just did want to make sure that everyone realizes that that is not located in Seaside. And the Veterans Transition Center wants to finish processing their duplex renovations with HVAC. And that's a joint CDBG project with the cities of Monterey and Seaside and the county of Monterey. This is a project that's already been doing in the current cycle. This is some finish up work. That's located in Marina, but that's already been cleared by HUD as okay for us to be a part of because it's veterans for the area, and Seaside is a part of that, and we will have Seaside veterans there. The one thing there's a couple of things that I will mention. Community Human Services has a standing joint powers authority agreement with the city of Seaside to be funded $30,000 a year. It does not have to come from the CDBG program, but they've been applying through the CDBG program to use that money in that way. That way it doesn't cut into the general fund. And let's see, what else? The city of Seaside has, it's for Ellis Park. We do have someone here from the city who can explain that more. And the chart for this one, I really just put what everybody asked for. It's a little different with capital projects. It's not a slice and dice quite like the 15% for public services. Usually when people ask for a project, it's the project. And you will need to ask them if they can reduce it or change it around in any way to make the money fit. However, this is a 2-year cycle, and you can, we did ask for $528,000 in year 1, but they only requested $20,000 in year 2, so maybe you can do some creative moving things around. It was requested a little differently than public services, and now to kind of leave it up to you and for discussion. Thanks.
So, capital projects generally are not sexy, but they are a chance to make a real tangible improvement in the lives of the people that these organizations serve. Sharon, could you run through again refresh our memory?
Sure.
What the main target populations were that were identified in the needs assessment workshop?
Needs assessment is youth and seniors, obviously homeless, veterans, everything has to be low income across the board, no matter what. Everybody qualifies. To be fair, everyone qualifies as far as who they're serving. The capital improvement project is for accessibility improvements. That was also one of our priorities. Everything that's in this mix is a priority. I mean, that's one of the things that's really difficult about this, and I know you've understood this now by looking at the applications, is these are all projects that help our needed populations. Everybody does fit into the category of who we're trying to serve.
So, since we don't have a yellow column here,
it's where do you want to put the money? But the thing is, really, if you move some of these around between the 2 years, you can pretty much, you can make it fit a little better. I'll just leave it at that. And it's really which ones do you want done first? Knowing that we may not have that second year funding.
Well, I was going to ask, if someone can check my math, one thing that jumps out at me is that excluding the City of Seaside project, the accessibility, everything else can be funded in whole. So
Yeah.
so
I was trying to have you guys make that determination.
So I would want to hear from the City of Seaside about the scalability of the project. If, for instance, we funded everything else in whole, and then with the leftover projected funds, how far that could actually carry.
Before we go out to public comment, can we?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Before we go out to public comment, can we discuss a little bit?
Yes, by all means.
Asking a direct question of city is not exactly putting it out to public comment.
Well, you can. Let's try to be consistent.
Of course, absolutely.
That's all.
Just to say, yes, I would like to hear what everyone is thinking.
I do have some questions as well for the flooring at the center, at the Sally Griffin Center. That is not physically located in the city of Seaside. So I would like to hear from, is there a representative here tonight from? No. Okay.
I don't know.
So I guess my biggest concern is I know that their services provide meals to our seniors in Seaside, but we are allocated CDBG funding because we are a low income community, and I'm not sure that I feel comfortable sending money out of our city for a building that is in PG. So that is a concern of mine. At this point, I would consider eliminating them from funding. It's just something to share.
Yes.
And I have to apologize. I think maybe we discussed looking at all of this expenditures before we voted on how to split the money up, but I think we did not do that, and I apologize. I just got carried away at the moment of making a motion. But that aside, I don't know if we can readdress that. My rough math, and it might not be accurate, if we take that 281,000 out, because that's essentially the whole budget. If we're doing that and nothing else, or we're doing other stuff and not that, I come up with a $21,000 left over if we do everything but the City of Seaside. What happens to that $21,000? Does it get invested and earn some money over the year? Does it disappear because we didn't spend it?
Theoretically, we should allocate it somewhere. We could, I mean, since you've asked the question, we could say, okay, City of Seaside, you can start, but just spend up to this money that first year, and then the second year you go crazy. And you finish the rest of it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you could put it that way. Or you can do kind of what you did the last time and say, City of Seaside, do your project in the second year. Everybody else go in the first year, and whatever's left over, we're going to bump you up this much money. You could do that. Or you have some freedom to make your request. All of this goes to City Council. They may say, no, I don't like that idea. But you can request. This is how much money you have to work with. And you can get as creative as you like with it at this point.
Yes. I feel the same way. I agree with Chair Hare in terms of funding project in Pacific Grove. But I have a question. If we don't include the Meals on Wheels and PG, does that mean that Seaside will absolutely not get any Meals on Wheels as it stands today?
No, those are two separate programs.
Perfect. Okay.
The public service thing is a different thing. They do serve Seaside. They have 8 routes in Seaside. That is all.
Perfect.
whole different thing, and it is run out of that building, but that building is in Pacific Grove, and I think that would be a tough sell to
Yeah.
have council agree with it and to have HUD agree
But
with it.
they bring the food to Seaside, that's where.
They
the
do
on
bring the
wheels
food to
come.
Seaside.
But there will still be food in Seaside from Meals on Wheels if we, yes.
Yeah, completely
Yeah,
different.
so I feel the
Two
same
separate
way
requests.
about eliminating that from what we're voting on.
Yes.
So if we were to ask the city of Seaside to wait on Ellis Park, we just don't know if there's gonna be money next year, right? It's still the same as on the previous set, that maybe there'll be money next year, maybe there won't.
That is the situation.
Okay.
Be aware that the city has other revenue sources.
Yes.
They are eligible for these funds, but that doesn't mean that they have no recourse if we did not give them any of these funds. Sorry, Sharon.
No, that's the correct answer.
Has any quick math? Can we fully fund everything except for the city of Seaside in the first round right now as it stands?
Yeah, that would leave us 21,000 extra if we did not do the city of Seaside part.
And if you're taking
Including
out,
Meals on
you're
Wheels.
taking out Meals on Wheels
Correct.
too. Oh, yeah, we
Oh,
can,
then it'd be
we can
more
fund
or less
everything
programs.
else.
And then we could do the second year, we could do the city of Seaside as for that.
And, the Boys and Girls Club asked for something in the second year,
Okay.
but that's like $20,000, so we could probably make that all.
Question, if we take out Meals on Wheels, would we be able to fund something toward the city of Seaside in addition to everything else this year?
That would be an option.
But you could have whatever's left be,
Yeah, just so they're funded with something.
so that
rather
they
than
could get
nothing.
started,
Or not.
or, well, you could make a recommendation for that.
That's what I
No,
was-
that's okay.
That's why during the public comment, I wanted to talk to the city folks to see if
Yes.
they could scale with
That's
that
okay.
money, if they need to wait or.
Right, before you vote.
That's
But
better.
before-
Then no.
But you guys talk it out first, then, and
Okay.
then.
It was a question.
Thoroughly, talk it out thoroughly.
Yes,
Let's
it was a
hear from
question.
everyone.
Yeah.
But any money we save can't go back to the people who just voted on.
No, those two separate pots of money, they do not intermingle at all.
And any money from the capital projects that we do not allocate gets left on the table. So we do have to earmark it for somebody,
And can it be
or it
something-
ceases to exist.
Can it be something next year, or does it have to be spent?
It has to be this year.
Okay, I thought that's how the counting went, I just wanted to make sure.
Right, so the possibility of funding something next year would be sort of an agreement like we had with the Veterans Transition Center the last funding cycle, which is they asked for a whopping amount of money, and it was not doable that year, so we arranged things, and the city actually kicked in extra money when they heard, you know, what we were proposing to they made up the difference in the funding, and we jiggered the timing a little bit. So we have the option of saying, we will fund you next year, please apply again, and doing it that way. Yes.
So my rough math, and again, somebody should really do real math, wish I had a spreadsheet. If we, eliminate the Meals on Wheels, because that's Pacific Grove, the park, if that's off the list, I come up with, everybody else fully funded at 223,000, which would leave us 65,000 to either put towards the city, towards the park. One of them's got a kind of a 42,786, and I have to admit I rounded that up to 43,000, just to make it easy on.
Well, one thing we have done with the service projects, and I don't know if that would apply to the capital projects, is we can distribute the surplus among the other recipients.
Because everybody could use more money.
Everybody could always use more money. I don't know
That, you can recommend that. I mean, yeah, you can, however you have with the leftover, you can recommend. Like I said, it's going to council, so council will either say, we like this recommendation, or we're gonna adjust that recommendation. But that, yeah, that's certainly up to you to
But, you
recommend.
know, that if we grant it, they have to spend it, which is a nice problem to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it exactly. If they get extra money, then they have to spend the extra money. Usually that's not a problem.
David, you said all you want to say on the subject?
I don't know, I mean, I'm comfortable with striking meals from the Meals on Wheels and then either redistributing that to the rest of the projects, or having all the leftover for the city. Either way.
And your thoughts?
I don't know what else to say besides I agree with how I don't know if we should plan the Meals on Wheels because it's in PG. But I was also thinking, for Veterans Transition Center, if it's located in Marina too, does that mean we should still fund them or?
That's already been approved by HUD that it's okay. This is a continuation of a project that's already been approved. It's just the finishing touches of things they need to do.
It's addressing homelessness directly, which is a priority for our commission and also for HUD. Yes.
Was the Meals and Wheels, application for the grant was for Seaside to fund the entire project, or are we just part of one of the people who gets meals from that facility, and they said, they asked everybody who's getting meals from that facility to pitch in on the floor? Do we know that?
Well, as I said in the application, yeah, this is a small part of an entire budget.
For the Meals on Wheels?
Yeah, well, in every case,
Well, I just wondered if they are asking,
you know, everybody is always being asked to source the bulk of the monies they need from other sources. HUD is just a supplement.
I just wondered if Pacific Grove was paying to fix the floor at the facility in Pacific Grove, and was Monterey kicking in on that, or are they asking from Seaside HUD money to spend for us to fix their floor?
I'm sure that they have other applications in as well.
Okay.
That is generally the case. Anyone else? I'm going to toss it out to the floor. Anyone here wishing to speak on capital projects? Now is your time. Public comment is open.
I'll go since I've already been requested. Misty Bradshaw, Associate Engineer for the City of Seaside. I'm here to speak on behalf of Ellis Park. And I'll start with a quick little plug for the project. It's really something that I'm passionate about and close to my heart. It's been an improvement that we've been designing for over a year and a half. And we've been working closely with the Parks and Rec Commission. The community has had a lot of involvement, and we're proposing to provide ADA accessible parking space as well as pathways, upgrade the facilities, the play structures, the swings, the barbecue pits, and some of the landscaping. And it started out as a bigger project. We also were going to do a multi-use sport court, basketball, goals, but to try and make it more constructible with funding sources that are available, we already scaled that back, and we're just going to do it in 2 phases. So our proposed plan is to do with, hopefully, CDBG funds to do phase 1, which will cover everything except that sport court. And just to give you a little background on sometimes doing some of these projects, ADA accessibility, or Americans with Disabilities Act accessibility, is kind of difficult to integrate into a project. Once you improve an area, you then have to provide access to everybody. And therefore you have to do all these ADA accessible upgrades to your facility, in our case, this park. So we really broke it down to as small a project and maintainable of a project as possible to still provide everyone the access that they deserve at this public facility. And it works really closely with the Oldenmeyer Center and the youth programs there, the senior programs there. They utilize the park currently, and we just really think that the improvements we've worked closely with can improve the programs that are already there, maybe even expand them. And so to talk to the funding as well, it originally started with a project that's over $500,000, and with City of Seaside funds to fund the design, we have already kind of taken a good chunk of that out of the way, and we've got the design shelf ready, which means we are ready to go out to find a contractor tomorrow if we had the money. We're ready to go. And then, as I mentioned, we cut the project back into 2 phases, and then we are also going to look at using staff man hours to be able to offset some of the construction projects and to be able to do some of the demolition and off-hauling of some of the existing equipment, so we can use these funds to the best of the ability. And as far as when we can do this project, we of course wanted to do it tomorrow, but we also just really want to get this done. We think it would be great for the community. So if it does mean waiting to the next year, we are definitely open to that. We are also open to, if there's a little bit left over that you can provide for us this year, there's plenty of things that we can get started on before the big construction part of the project. So we have a lot to talk about today, and we are very, very excited to have this opportunity, and we are also open to different coordination efforts that you guys may propose. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Public comment is still open.
Well, all right. I've been
People-
here for
people
what, an hour and a half?
not-
Robert Abbott, Community Human Services. Thank you to the Homeless Committee for helping out with the CDAC. We get this funding pretty much every year. I actually screwed up and didn't write an application for 21-22. I forgot that this was a 2-year application, but we're totally okay with that. But this funding just really does help with a lot of different things. We've been funding in the past. We did asphalt stuff that was ADA compliant. We're doing electrical upgrades with it right now. It's these small projects. They're really hard to get funded in other ways. So I know that it helps all the organizations that are here. This funding is really important, and it's just able to get things done. And I really like the idea, while I'm up, of totally funding everybody, putting the rest of the city, and then funding the city the next year. You don't have any applications for it. It seems to work out perfect.
Thank you for your comment. Public comment is still open. Seeing none, we will bring it back to the commission. One caveat about moving the funding for the City of Seaside project into next year, we are not likely to have that much money next year either. So I think it might behoove us to, tell the city, let's make a deal. We can fund to a certain extent, but we are never going to be able to cover the whole bill, and have them put on their thinking caps and see what other possibilities could come, what other pots of money might be tapped. I know they can do it, they've done it before. We provided some of the funding. In fact, we provided funding for the ADA improvements for the Coutinho Park project, but we certainly did not fund the entire project. So the city's well aware of that. Okay, so we have a couple of different ways that we can go, and at this point, I know that maybe the whole motion thing crept up on you a little unawares last time, so I'll take it nice and slow this time. There are options on the table. Would anyone like to put forward a motion that encapsulates an option that they are proposing?
I will set up a potential motion. For the first round of funding, without Meals on Wheels and without the City of Seaside, I would like to fund the rest of the applicants.
And if there is surplus money, how would that be dealt with?
We could divide the rest of that income among the recipients. Because I think that you're correct with the City of Seaside. We don't know how much we're going to get on the second cycle, and if it is something that they cannot fully fund, even if we give them $20,000 or $60,000 in the first round, that might not provide enough to keep it going. if they don't have another financial contribution. So in the second round, they have access to the entire amount, whatever that is. That is a potential.
Now, I'm going to ask you if you can phrase that in the form of a motion.
All right, so I motion to fully fund in the first round all the applicants except Meals on Wheels and the City of Seaside, with the leftovers allocated evenly among those applicants. And then in the second cycle, fully fund the City of Seaside for the park.
To the extent.
The max extent that's available in that round.
Okay, I just want to ask a question to clarify because I have to make this to council. The second year Boys and Girls Club, is that, do you want that in the first year? I mean, they would probably be okay with that if it was all in the first year.
If that is possible, I think that would be preferable. I can
I just want to make sure that I'm writing down what everyone wants.
So, first round of funding, without Meals on Wheels and without the City of Seaside, we fully fund all applicants, including the $20,000 for the Boys and Girls Club.
That's fine. I just want to make sure I'm writing it down correctly.
Okay, yeah, yes. And then if there is any leftover, because I don't know the math, we apply that evenly across those applicants. And then in the second year, we fully fund whatever's allocated to the City of Seaside for the park.
Okay.
We have a motion, is there a second?
A second.
Okay. It has been moved that we fund everything except the Meals on Wheels and the City of Seaside, including 2 years of funding for, my mind's a blank, help me.
Boys and Girls Club.
Nobody can get through this. Boys and Girls Club, yes, thank you. With the stipulation that whatever funding is available in the second year could be applied to the City of Seaside. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. All those opposed?
What about those of us who have a question? I didn't get an opportunity. I wanted to ask a question before we voted on the motion, but I'm not sure how to fit in a question in the motioning process.
A little.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if I could interrupt a motion with a question.
You could do it on, it's called on the second, when you did, so we voted.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So, let's do this one more time. Has been moved that we fund everything but Meals on Wheels and the City of Seaside, including the second year of the Boys and Girls Club, with the stipulation, if there is overage, we would spread it evenly among the recipients, and in the second year, whatever funding becomes available would be allocated toward the City of Seaside. It's been moved, it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
I'm abstaining.
That then makes it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 3. Motion carries.
This is just heartbreaking. I want to know why those two people didn't vote for it, because maybe you got it wrong. This is hard.
Yes, it never gets any easier. I've been doing this for 5 years. So, thank you everyone for your participation. Particularly thank you to the Homeless Committee for continuing as alternates. I'm sure we got much more than you bargained for. I will now entertain, unless Sharon has something else to say, I will now
Thank you all.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there a comment on the second? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
I know there's a way to save it, right?
Well, it was actually playing on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I thought there was something we have to do at the end to get it to save. I don't know. I'm not the one who generally runs it.